Yeah, my name is John. I'm from Long Beach, California, the West Side, about Low and Santa Fe area. Um, yeah, I grew up during the '90s, and so everything was pretty cool up until like normal childhood. Like friends, I'd go, we'd have sleepovers, that normal everyday childhood. And about sixth grade, it seemed like the moment that first West Side Connection album dropped, like everything just went nuts and everybody wanted to be a gangster and racism was really hot, especially after like the Watch riots back in first grade. So it was kind of weird. And I was in this spot where if I wanted to go out and skateboard and have fun, like I was really limited to a couple blocks. And so about seventh, eighth grade, that wasn't playing so well with me anymore. And so you start stretching it. You stay out a little bit longer than the street lights, you ignoring the phone calls. And by the time high school came around, my original childhood friends and I, we had kind of separated because sitting at home playing the new Resident Evil and all that, that wasn't so appealing to me anymore. I wanted to go out and I wanted to skateboard places I shouldn't go. I wanted to see other areas. I wanted to ride on walls. Whatever I could do, you start smoking a little bit of weed, chasing a girl. And so eventually it got to the point where like I'd show up to high school in the morning, but I wouldn't be there for any of the classes or anything like that. So I wound up getting put on probation. Um, and then on top of being on probation, they put you in these little diversion programs. They have you going and seeing these state counselors. And I just kept getting worse and worse. And so finally, this leads up to I'm now pretty close to 16. It's like after 9/11 happened, that winter right there. I'm going to San Juan Cabrillo High School. It's in Long Beach, California. And everything, it just kind of got caught at the same time. I got caught with some drugs. I'm getting caught for graffiti. I'm already on probation. They know we stole a whole bunch of keys out of the school and came into the school and took shit. And so finally, I'm in the Long Beach Police Department station and I'm sitting there and it's not the first time I've been handcuffed in the police station. I'm really just kind of dreading what's going to happen when I go home. And, you know, at one point, they left the door open. So I walked out and I just completely walked out of the jail. I had a hoodie over my handcuffed hands. I'm standing there. I'm in a liquor store, which is pretty close to this police department. And I'm in there and I'm holding a can of green tea in my hands. And the cop comes in and he points at me. He knows right away, like, you. I drop it, it breaks. He comes at me, he slips, he falls, and I turn to run, and the back of my heel hit him in the forehead as he fell. And I remember looking at him and I kind of giggled, like, and I'm running out this liquor store, and the other cop yokes me up, grabs me, throws me back in the cell. Now it's later on this evening. They're telling me it's time to go home. I get in this cop car. They're driving me too far from home. We're pulling up through this golf course, and these gates open. I'm like, this ain't my home. And they're like, now it is. So I get in there, and it's intake. You're sitting in this day room in these plastic chairs. Like some kids are coming in being yelled, like they're yelling, they're kind of gangbanging, but at the time, like this is a language I don't speak yet. So I don't know what the hell half of these people are saying. Like they got Tourette's or some shit. So I'm sitting there. I finally like it's probably about 11 o'clock by the time I actually get to a bunk. And because I had hit this cop with the back of my foot as he slipped and fell, I'm one of these kids that has to wear these orange pants. And these orange pants mean you're a high risk offender because now I've apparently assaulted an officer. So I get taken to this special handling unit, the shoe unit. And I get there pretty late. It's a single person cell. And at this particular unit, I don't know what you would consider it, like a 21 and 3. You're in your bunk all day, but they will let you out for meals and to shower and occasionally on a Friday for like an hour to watch a movie at night. But so I'm in here. It's a weird night, you know. I'm not at home. Everything's like cold concrete, really dingy because little boys are disgusting when it comes to masturbation. So that's just coded. I'm scared to touch anything. The next morning I
What,
come out. Oh, the trippy thing is
what
too.
about your parents?
My parents were at home, man. My parents aren't great parents. Like they they were pretty absentee. If they could put me in front of a TV or let me get out there, as long as nothing came back home or nothing was heard about in my mom's church, like they were kind of letting it go. They just wanted to come home and smoke and be left. So I always got by pretty easy when it came to them. But so at this particular place, we can't have our pants inside, and I found that really weird. You're in these issued tidy whities in this white T-shirt, and you can't sleep with your pants. And I didn't understand that for like a couple weeks to come when they finally told me they don't want kids to kill themselves. And I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Hey, is that bad? Like, would they have like a record of like kids doing that?
Yeah, I mean, as for anything I've seen like that, nah, but I did see one kid do the most to get out of there. And he was definitely suicidal when he started, and then it eventually went to him eating his own shit to finally get taken out of there.
How
But
did it affect you? How long were you in there?
in this particular unit, I was in here about 90 days. And like I said, it's the special handling unit. So there's kids in there who were kind of violent, mentally disturbed, all out weirdos. Um, One kid was in there because he was shot. The cops had actually shot him when they brought him in. And he was a cool dude, but yeah, he had a gunshot to his leg, and the other dudes from his gang, like they happened to be from the same hood, they were always stepping up for him to like make sure he was safe, which was kind of cool. Like my first day, the next morning I came out and it's time for breakfast, and I'm sitting there, and you know, this is the first time I've ever seen some shit like this. Yeah, I hung out with friends out on the outside that were from gangs and shit, but it wasn't like this. I'm sitting there, and this dude, he's sitting next to me. He was a Crip from Broadway Crips. We're sitting there. It's the first thing in the morning, man. You got a little donut on your tray with your like farina, and the dude, like, he just looked right over at me and reached over and took my shit and like ate it and put it on his tray. And so in my head, I'm thinking like, damn, bro, you ain't got no fucking manners. And then I'm picturing like, wait, you're supposed to do something right now.
Yeah.
So I take a couple deep breaths and I jump up and I fire off on him, man. I get like 2 or 3 shots, and two of his homeboys stand up, and now I'm getting jumped. And this would also be the first time I got pepper sprayed because the guards ran in, OC warning, and they sprayed us with this can of shit called Fox. But when it came time to like take us somewhere, like the box, that's what they would call, I guess, the equivalent of the hole for juveniles. There was nowhere to take this because we're already in the fucking special handling unit. Like, so I
Basically the
don't know.
same thing.
It's the same fucking thing. So I'm in there. Some time goes by. As a kid, you don't get commissary. Like that's not something you get. I guess you can earn points by being good, but yeah, I can
So
remember
you
getting.
don't think they gave y'all nothing to like look forward to,
I can remember
like a
two.
reward?
I can remember 2 times. One of them happened to be a movie night. Still can't remember what movie we were watching, but I remember I got a pack of Sour Patch Kids. And I can remember another time around when a Super Bowl was going on. I remember it was like when the Raiders were in the Super Bowl, and this is probably like a year or so after that. I can remember that was another time where I got a candy bar. But other
Did
than
you
that,
did you run with a crew in there? Did you ever eventually run with a gang or a crew in there?
when I after I got jumped, it's kind of a weird thing, man, because races are crazy segregated in LA. Like, even in this special handling unit, like, yeah, there's black kids, there's Mexican kids, there's this one Asian dude, there's me, you know? And I come from a Hispanic family, so me, that's who I fell in with. And I guess that's the case of what happens, in most cases when it comes to white dudes being outnumbered. They tend to fall in with the Mexicans for some reason. But so I would do that just because it was easier to talk to. I had more in common with them, but I had just gotten jumped by these three other motherfuckers over here, So now I get into it with one of them. Now I'm getting into it with their friend, and so pretty quickly I realized I stood out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. Do you think like you being in there and going through all that? Do you think it like made you even worse? Like made you more aggressive?
It did. It absolutely did, because when it came time for this trip to end, I go see a judge, and again in California, when you're a juvenile, like as an adult, they give you time. You know what you're looking at, how much time you're facing. As a kid, you don't. It's all up to this judge, and he's gonna sentence you to a program. And this could be a group home, this could be a boot camp, this could be going to YA. This is what you're going to do. So in my case, he sent me, like, I remember showing up to court, and I had like pretty a good cut right here from something that had happened a couple days before. And at this point, it's only been like maybe 90 days, maybe 4 months. I don't know. Time kind of went weird in there. But
Did you think you were going home?
yeah, yeah, I really thought I was going home. And he told me, nah, you're going to a placement home. And so I don't know what that is. I'm just trying to find out how. Day I get picked up in this cell, and somebody picks me up. I'm in this van, and they're driving me. I wind up all the way in Hollywood, which, like, right off of Hollywood Boulevard. So I'm like, what the hell? Go in this house. There's other kids here. They took me shopping for a little bit of clothes and like personal items. It was the first time I had used a Q-tip in like forever, so that felt amazing. And so I'm in this place, man. And the first night there, I'm laying in my bed, and there's another kid in this other bed here. And the whole time in juvenile hall, I didn't see anything. Like, I saw fights, I saw kids get slashed, not really stabbed, but I didn't see any like homosexual shit. And I'm in here, I'm laying in this bed, and this kid, he's over there, and he's, have you ever thought of fooling around with boys? Have you ever given it a thought? Would you mind? Is this something you would do? And so now me and him get in a fight. And so that shit, like, it just kind of blew my mind that not only was he this down and asking his weird ass questions, but like he like threw down with me on it. Like, he stood up and fought like he was somehow in the right. And so they finally get him out of there and move his room. Now I have a room by myself, and I'm like, it's like the first time I've been by myself without anybody looking at me in a few months. And I remember just wondering, like, what the going on here? I cut a hole in my screen and jumped out the window, and so I'm walking around Hollywood Boulevard, and I'm trying to ask people where the blue line is so I could catch the metro and go home. And everybody's telling me like it's a block that way or it's a block that way, and I'm like, how the fuck did I miss it? I never knew it was underground. So I'm like 2 blocks away from a way home, and I can't get there. So I eventually go back to this group home, and they put me in Hollywood High School, and now I'm going to a public high school again, like a normal kid, and I'm aggressive as shit. Like, I'm an asshole, and I'm not a big kid at all. At the time, I maybe weighed like 120 at the most. And now I'm just a full on asshole. I'm ready to fight, like, at any given thing. And I'm like punking kids for their money. Like, I'm jacking kids, and I'm going back to this group home. I'm like buying drugs from some kid who knew where to get them at the school. I'm back home to this group home, and I'm selling them. And the fact I'm not going to school, and some girl got jammed up with some of the drugs and decided to rap. Like everything kind of came out, so now I'm violated, and I get taken back, and now I'm in Central Juvenile Hall, and so I'm in there, and right away things are completely different now. Like this juvenile hall shit was kind of fucking calm in a way that like everybody was just waiting to be transferred, you know? Like these kids, some are waiting to go to Los Padrinos. Most are just waiting to see a judge for something or another. So in this case, I was sentenced to see a judge. The judge basically said, go try it again. Sends me back to the group home. Okay. Once again, this time instead of pretending to go to school, I just say, fuck it, crash out. I don't go at all, you know, at all. So I get violated again. Now, once again, back at Central, they take me up to Silmar Juvenile Hall. And this is a bit further up north. And up here, it was pretty different. This was the first time I saw this kid in there. He was 13 years old, man, little guy. He was from 18th Street. And he already had like the big ass devil horns tattooed. Like, he had that. He had the X eye under his eyes. Like, I had never seen anybody with a fucking face or a head tattoo, much
At
less a
13?
13-year-old. At 13, and this kid was wild, man. Like he was little. He got into it with this dude who was a Hoover, and this was a big kid. And this little guy, he took it to him. I'm not gonna say he won by any means, but he took it to this big dude until he got hit like a fist as big as his whole face, and then it was over. But
So you're back in
so I'm in
juvenile
there.
hall, right?
I'm back in juvenile hall. Now I'm at Silmore, and
What was it
at
like?
this time,
What did it feel like coming back?
at this point, I'm really detached from everything because it seemed like even in the shoe unit in Los Padrinos, like by the time I got cool with these other, they shipped me out to this fucking group home. By the time I get settled in here, I'm getting shipped out, and I'm bouncing around, and I'm constantly in this state of just having to do the same shit all over again. Having to like all of a sudden everybody wants to test the white boy, so boom, I'm scrapping all the time. Finally, you make a crew. They change your unit, so you don't see them anymore. And at this
Yeah, but
time, they
by this
started like,
time, when you came back, you already knew the deal. You already knew how to survive this time.
yeah, I did to an extent, but it's still like there's still nothing you can do when somebody weighs damn near double what you weigh, And so up until now, I hadn't seen too much of that. I had seen some big kids. I had lost my share of fights. I had been jumped. I had won a few. Everything was all right. And the judge did some sideways shit, and he just sent me to the YA. We had gotten in. I had a few altercations in Silmar, some fights and everything, which probably amounted to him making this decision. But he sends me to the YA facility in Norwalk. That's like their intake type thing. And I'm in there, man. And there's kids in there that are like 24, 25 years old. Like,
How old are
there's
you at this
grown.
point?
I am 17, early 17. Yeah, early 17. Wait, no, mid 17. And so now I'm in here. These kids are big as fuck, man. They're grown fucking men, And here, the race politics are wild. Like it's exactly what you would expect from a prison. You're with your own race, everything. So there's a crew of white dudes, crew of Mexican dudes, crew of black dudes. I don't remember seeing any Asian dudes. I saw some Samoans,
Yeah,
but they
they
usually,
usually in like the others.
yeah, yeah,
So
like that.
did the violence increase by being there?
Yeah, man. The violence not only increased, it's kind of crazy because like you hear on these channels how like everything happens over gambling or over drugs or
Yeah.
There's always a reason for a boy or something like that. And in the juvenile system, like they control money real well. You're not getting no commissary. There's really nothing to gamble with. So motherfuckers are just mad and they're taking it there. Also a kid. So you almost don't realize like kicking somebody in the face 3 or 4 times, like that could really fuck somebody up. At the time, you think everything's almost like a video game. And yeah, man, like those kids getting stuck up, kids getting a lot of beatings, man. It mostly came to beatings. And the more severe, the more that dude might not have to do it again. You know,
Did you did you ever feel like did you ever fear for your safety in there?
in the why, yeah, yeah, a couple times, man. It did come to that because you know when you make a friend and that's your dude, like you're kind of signing up to you didn't even know about he did to this other
Yeah.
motherfucker, right?
That's how it is.
Yeah, and
The
I'm
same
not
thing with
I'm
the
not as
game.
big as he's my friend because he's bigger than me. So now a motherfucker you got problems with is gonna be real quick to come at me because I'm not as big as you. So god damn it, like loyalty is a double-edged
Yeah.
sword. But
What's the toughest day you had in there?
the toughest day I had wasn't actually in YA. Toughest day I had was in Silmar, where it was usually they would do it on Mondays. And it would be like Mondays because your visits, if for those who got them, I got 2 visits the whole time I was gone. My parents visited me twice. And so, anyways, Monday, they would usually get you guys together. And what they would do is they would give you the option to, but keep in mind, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go in the day room, and any kids who want to put their hands up and box and fight each other, go do it. And there's always a couple kids who are ready for it. And then at that point, Stats just pointing out people like you get in there, you get in there. And then if you're scared to go, you know what your next week's gonna be. Like
So you're
your
at that
whole
point
next.
now. Now you the kid that's
Yeah.
telling everybody that the
No, no, no. Staff is telling us. The
oh, okay,
staff is
okay.
taking us. Like you guys are gonna knuck up, and then it'll be like these 2 kids
Damn.
want to fight. Each other, but anybody. And then so the staff's like, all right, you get in there. And you might not want to fight. But if you don't, your next week you're just gonna be getting kicked around, man. Like so,
So basically
suck it up and
they're
fight.
having like fight club and like
Yeah,
the staff are having like fight club.
yeah,
They're holding that.
yeah.
That's
Not
crazy.
up.
I didn't even
They're
I never heard of that.
yeah, like this was really prevalent at Los Padrinos too. I just didn't happen to see it my first go around there. And Silmar was the first time I was really exposed to it. And yeah, man, like it's kind of weird. You're standing there, the guy's like, boom, you get in there, and either you get in there and like chances are you go get your ass beat, like if not, you're gonna go through it about 3 or 4 times this upcoming week till somebody does this shit next Monday and they're the new butt of the joke.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Um, I forgot where you were at now. You were you still talking about
All right, we were at YA. I did it's called a 90-day observational, and by the time I did that I went back to court, and I think the judge felt he had taught me a lesson. So from here I now get transferred all the way up to what's going to be Challenger Memorial Youth Center in Lancaster. But in order to do this, I'm starting off in this Long Beach courthouse where they will take me back to Los Padrinos and now back to Silmar and then eventually to where I'm going. So
that is
I go back to
crazy. You
Los
were in so
Padrinos.
many you were in so many facilities. Like I've never seen somebody I think you were in like 9 different facilities, something like that.
It, it's the same ones over and over though, because that was the thing when I went to Hollywood. Hollywood's a bit more north than Long Beach. So Long Beach, I get locked up. They take me to Los Padrinos. But in this case, you get locked up in Hollywood. They'll take you to Central just because that's the nearest one. I still have to go to court in Long Beach though. So then they'll still put me in Los Padrinos. I guess they're saving gas money or something.
It's
But
almost like they're preparing you. I think you said this last night to me. It's almost like they're preparing you for prison life. You know, going through all these
I
facilities.
I exactly felt that way, man, because you know, just being in these units and being you're watching all these other kids who have been going through it longer, and it does kind of bring a bit of an animalistic side out of you, sure. On top of that, we're being forcibly medicated because we don't belong to our parents anymore. We are wards of the state of California. Therefore, they decide they're going to dope us up. They're going to dope us up. And I fought
So,
that really hard.
did you have contact with your parents at all throughout this whole going from facility to facility?
Man, like I said, my parents came and saw me 2 times. The whole time I saw my parents. And my parents were straight up about it. Like, you're the one in here. We're not going through getting searched to be in here. Like, that was one rule I always had when I was growing up. My dad was always like, don't no fucking cops. So they weren't gonna go out of the way to walk into the cop's house just to see me. No.
Did you feel like the system had ownership of your life? Thank
Yeah,
you for that.
yeah, man. I didn't want to take any form of medication. They're making us do it. And then what's sad on top of that is you eventually don't want to, so you learn how to hide it under your tongue and whatever. And you don't have to know what it is. There's another kid there that's willing to trade you their donut or whatever for it. That becomes a form of currency. And these kids are doing psych meds. They don't even know what they're doing. And they're just doing it to feel something.
Yeah, they're so depressed, and at that age, wanting to just to get high like that, that's crazy. How did that place compare to other places you were at though?
Well, each place had its ups and its downs. Uh, the best place out of all of them would have been that very, very first trip to Los Padrinos. Everything was kind of new. Like, yeah, it was the point where I can remember still feeling emotion. Like, there were certain situations that always make you scared and make your heart jump a little bit. But I do remember that moment being actually scared, not knowing, like, it was all unknown. It was all crazy. That first ass beating, that was all really fresh and new. And I didn't know what it was. But then over that time, like the kids in the shoe, I mean, even when it came to the dudes who jumped me, after a while, like we all had a certain camaraderie. Nobody was leaving this unit too quick. And so then the sick part is it just becomes some sick joke on the new kid who comes in after that because now they become that guy. And it's just like do unto others because I don't know. Like it's something to
Yeah.
laugh at, I guess. It's
So is it like most of the kids are miserable, so they want to make other people miserable, like the new kids coming in?
yeah, we're all miserable. And but the fucked up part is at the end of the day, we're all still kids too. Like I remember this is actually okay. Not all the guards were dicks. There was this lady named Miss Harris. She was short. She had vitiligo. She worked in this shoe unit with us. She was real cool, real nice, kind of like a motherly figure, right? She wouldn't put up with none of your bullshit, but she was cool. She'd be quick as hell to OC your ass and drag you on out. But I can remember this one night we were in there, and this was the same night of this movie. This one fucking night where we were gonna watch this movie. So before we did that, like we're in the special handling unit, we don't really get yard time like that. So she wants us all to like stretch and like the thing you pull your fingers and all that. So we all go through that, and there's a kid that had been brought in there about a week before, and he was actually another white dude. He was a really goofy one. He was a tall, really lanky, had this weird face, and he had been through a really hard week. He had taken some beatings, some stompings. He wasn't talkative. He was just shut down, and he's in this chair like this, in this plastic day room chair. And this lady, Miss Harris, comes out and we stretch. And then she's like, here's what we're going to do. For the next 5 minutes, we're going to dance. And she turned on this music. So a lot of us, we're standing there like, what the fuck? Like, we're not doing this. This kid looked up like the light of God was shining on him. And he got up and this dude danced like a motherfucker for all 5 minutes, man. I had never seen this kid do anything, smile, anything. And for 5 minutes there, it was like footloose.
Do you think he felt normal for them
Uh,
couple minutes? Because
man, I don't
really,
know what the fuck
when
he.
y'all in there, y'all don't feel like you have a family, right?
Nah, nah. You kind of make this little boxcar kid group type thing. And like you got your friends you're cool with too. And like you might even have this other crew over there that you're not necessarily that cool with. But at the end of the day, like if they bring in a new guard or a new teacher or something, oh, we're all friends right now. Like we're all getting over it. You know, we have a common enemy, I suppose.
What was the most frustrating part about the whole situation?
Well, the most frustrating part of everything was again not having a date when I would get out of any of this. I get sent to this program in a group home. Yeah, I fucked it up, whatever. But now I get sent back to juvenile hall. Now I get sent to this other program at YA, but oh no, the judge just wanted to teach me a lesson. So I don't have an end in sight at this point. And
Yeah, that's crazy. It's like you got in trouble one time, and then you went to one group home to the next, and it was just like a chain reaction. You know,
yeah, it
did,
it was.
did you
And
see
I
anybody?
like
My bad, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying?
no worries, go ahead. Did I see
Did you see
anything?
anybody else? Did you see anybody else make it out successfully?
No. No. Actually,
Nobody.
nah, man. No. No, not one. There were other friends like, along the way, different facilities, like one cat, I'm gonna call him B. I met him in Silmar, and is actually to the point we wound up going to this last facility I'd be at, Challenger Youth Center. It's out in Lancaster, California, in the desert. It's one of those. It's a dorm facility wearing camouflage, and you wake up in the morning. They kind of like try to drill you like some pseudo basic training shit. You go to school. So one kid who I was with in Silmar later wound up there, and I kicked it with him when he got out. And it took about I think a month and a half, and the kid was right back on meth and getting locked up again. Um, one of my best friends who was still free when I went away, and I wound up bumping into him my second go at Los Padrinos Cal. This was my buddy. Like we grew up together. We were selling dime bags at school and shit. And he wound up getting out before me. He didn't go through YA. He went through the Los Padrinos system as far as the camp. And part of him, he was forever affected by it. Like he was forever affected. Everything was like it was like he was state struck, and it really messed him up. It ruined his life. He's still out there somewhere. If anybody, I don't know, if anybody sees a wild dude wandering down under the bridges of LA with a "Smile Now, Cry Later" tattoo, and that's who I'm talking about. And okay, dude.
You kind of cut out there for a second.
I wasn't physically in there with. He had gone in before me, and it seemed like we had just missed each other everywhere. And again, when I bump into him when I'm 19 years old, some type of where he wound up getting in a fight. It just resonated. One dude was kind of just broken mentally over it. One dude became hyper violent. Another dude falls into like severe drug addiction. Me, I fell into this mode where I would never build relationships with people because I didn't expect to be around that long. Like all these places, like it was crazy. The moment you make a friend, you're gone, you know? And so that really kind of sucked. I looked at most relationships as fairly transactional once I got out. And yeah, I was higher aggressive. My aggression was a lot higher. I don't know. It almost breeds sociopaths.
Yeah. How come you said you didn't end up in prison or not like that? What made you turn your life around?
Really, man, I just got lucky. Like that's all it was. I just got lucky, and at about 24, California, I wound up in Houston, Texas. And again, I'm by no means am I like living the straight and narrow at any of this. Like I'm in Houston, Texas, cutting it up in the second ward. If anybody knows about that area, shit was crazy out there. And I lasted about 90 days in Houston, Texas before I'd gotten in an altercation with the neighbor of an apartment, and it got physical, and I again took it too far. And it got to the point like all of a sudden there's guys, all of a sudden there's guys in suits knocking on my door. So it was, hey, I told people at the time like it's time to pick up stakes, and we took a Greyhound and we wound up out here in Illinois. And when we came out here, it was more of the same for a few years before finally I think I just got tired, and I woke up one day as an adult, and it was like my development was arrested to where I wasn't doing the things I should have done on the schedule that normal people do shit. But it was finally to the point, I guess I was a late bloomer. I was finally starting to get it. And I don't know. Like any adult, there's a couple times you get it and you drop it and then you pick it back up again and try to do better, which ultimately growth is about. But
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
like you said, about that one guy who, he's under a bridge or whatever. A lot of the kids, they grew up and went down a different path. You know,
yeah,
instead of like, like the prison system, instead of like, sending kids to the juvenile services, instead of teaching them the right thing, they're basically, some staff are making them fight clubs, and they're getting abused by other children in there, other kids. It's they're not really learning nothing, are they?
it's they're not learning anything. And the other thing is nobody's listening. Like unless you are screaming bloody murder for help and you're already bloody, like nobody cares what you have to say. Nobody cares what you need. Like stupid simple things, like even their laundry system. MRSA is a bitch. That shit will spread everywhere real fucking quick. Now you got kids now with lifelong bloodborne diseases because they put on a pair of underwear in a juvenile hall. It's
Was it bad
crazy.
in
They're
there?
forcibly med. Yeah, yeah. MRSA was crazy. I remember that's how I learned what a staph infection was, and then man, it's no good. There's kids coming out of there with it on their face, like just the craziest situations. I don't remember one time ever seeing one of those thin ass green mats get washed or sanitized or anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna
And plus,
disconnect this mic.
little boy,
Can you still hear me?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I just want to make sure because I had to disconnect the mic for some reason. It's like static, and I don't know what it was. What do you think people on the outside misunderstand about the juvenile detention?
You know, I think. Well, a lot of people think two things. They'll hear this kid has been in a juvenile system, especially the ones who got locked up pretty young. It doesn't take much. So they hear that about the kid, and instantly they're ready to write him off. Like you're a 14-year-old criminal, 15-year-old criminal, whatever. They're ready to write you off, and again, nobody's gonna listen to you, nobody's gonna care, and there's not really a hand to help you. The other thing is, people have the perception that yeah, it's a place for bad kids. They understand. gravity of how bad of a place it is for kids. Like I don't see kids getting out of there doing anything better. I haven't met one that was like, hey, I know what I want to do with my life that lasts more than a month or two because that quickly gets forgotten. And yeah, there's no way for these kids to come out of here and develop when they're being forcibly medicated. They're being forced to fight. They're being forced to take the slightest infractions or the slightest inconvenience is like an assault worthy offense. And it makes them agoraphobic. Like I don't see anybody come out of there and ready to come out of their shell. It makes most people kind of watch their surroundings. You don't want people too close to you.
Yeah, it makes you
You don't
paranoid.
trust. Yeah, you
Do,
don't
do you
trust. You
think
don't trust.
do you do you think those survival skills hurt you later in life?
Definitely, definitely. It made me an asshole. Like it did. It completely made me an asshole. Like there's certain times, like with my friends who have been through similar situations and things like this, you talk a certain way with your friends. You can be fairly straight to the point, even a bit harsh about it if you need to. You cannot do that to the guy working at the store. Or just that common everyday interaction, that guy at the Dollar General that you go to all the time. Like now you're just a fucking dick. And you don't even realize it till you're walking back to the car. Like, oh man, I said that wrong. Or when that guy stood behind me and I told him back up, like I could have been cooler about that.
Yeah. Well, looking back, what would you tell a 16-year-old, going through all that?
Well, if you cannot stand to stay on the porch, if you have to be that kid and you got that wanderlust and you want to get out there and you want to see things and do things that aren't necessarily right, you're gonna get a short run at it. You're gonna get to ditch only so much school. You're only gonna get to jack so many kids before it gets caught up with you. You know, you're only gonna get to carry and smoke your weed so many times before you get caught. And when they wrap you up, it's gonna be something minor. And this, it's like you're caught in a spider web, man. This place is gonna keep you as long as they can, and they're gonna try to take everything from you they can, and just be ready for it. You know, try not to let the system change you, although that's what systems are designed to do, and they're
Yeah,
very good.
it's kind of like being in prison. They get paid for how many kids they get. You mean how many kids they got? They get paid for that. What's the
Yeah,
biggest lesson you learned throughout the your whole experience?
to keep your word, man. Like to say, because it's kind of amazing to think like you start off in this little shoe unit in Los Padrinos, and now it's like a year down the line, and you're way up north at this other place. But this guy you happen to be talking to, that's his cousin, and they know each other, and therefore they know you too. And it's yeah, you are the same guy my cousin talking. You're not, you know. And yeah, I was so glad I was in gang affiliated because there was so many kids in here that would come in and they'd false flag a gang or something, and that never ended well. Like it never ended well. So for the kids who could just kind of be themselves and not really care about any of it. Like me, people laughed at me. Like, yeah, I was that punk rocker skateboard kid who liked to play guitar. You know, I wasn't stacking hand signs and I wasn't out there doing reckless shit like that. But
Why
for
do you
me,
think
it was
so many of them did that?
older brothers, older sisters. I mean, when you probably like if you don't got a dad in the picture, that's worked so fucking hard, so many hours to support you and your brothers and your sisters. Eventually, you're gonna meet the big down the street, and now one day he buys you ice cream off the tree. He almost bought you because you know who the fuck else does, right? And now you're looking up to this dude, and then
Yeah,
you look up to this dude.
it,
Eventually, come, hey, do you want to be like him? And you're gonna try.
yeah. I wouldn't advise anybody joining the gang. That's the worst mistake you can. That's the worst mistake you can do. I don't care how alone you feel. What part of your story still affects you today? I think you said that already. You don't trust people.
I think every aspect of it. Well, for a long time, like that took time to get over. Yeah, I did view relationships is more of something that was more transactional. I didn't expect anything to kind of be there further than I can see it. You know, people's word, relationships, like it was always you can wake up tomorrow and everything can be completely different. You can be in a different place and everything can be taken from you in 1 minute, you know? And that's something I would say I still have problem with. I try to over insulate against things to avoid that potential. And it's a completely hypothetical fear. It's irrational, but can I possibly perceive some way where like, hey, my whole life could change tonight in a way that just happened and now my life goes back to this. Yeah, I could see the potential for that, whether it's rational or not, and it's terrifying. And it's always kind of
Yeah. You think if you would have never went to the juvenile services, you think if you just would have stayed at home with your family, you think your life would have been totally different
yeah, yeah,
in a better
yeah.
way?
Rather than, I mean, nobody looks up to their dad who works like 16, 18 hours a day because really they don't see him, right? And it's something you come to take for granted and all that. Not saying my dad was the kind of man who worked like that by any means, but still, for a kid, you never really look at what you have and look up to that. You're in somewhere else. There's a celebrity, rock star, music influences. And I think if I would have like not necessarily followed my parents in any way, but stayed on the porch more with my original friends, the sleepover friends, the kids who were playing football. The kids who were studying hard for their tests and shit. I might have
Yeah.
had an idea because I had no aspirations when I came out. Somebody asked me what I want to do with my life. Fuck, I don't know. I just don't want
You
to be
didn't
told
know.
what to do. No.
Yeah, that part. What do you think should change in the juvenile system?
Well, I do, I do realize there does need to be a system for kids to be locked up, sure. But the requirements to be into that system, something has to change. But I can't think of any way that a city or a county, I mean, sure, you can make some new dorms. Sure, you could bubble wrap the whole thing so nobody can get hurt. You can keep everybody completely isolated, which will damage everybody. You can keep them all together where people might get hurt. That's a double edged sword. Ultimately, it needs to start with our culture. It needs to start parents and the homies on this saying like, hey, it's you against the system at this point. It's not you against the next man. Like at some point, the moment a man is defined by like the barbarity he can inflict on another man, then everything's fucked up. And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, that tribal aspect. Do you think the judges need to wake up? Do you think they need to understand? Sending children to juvenile service shouldn't be the first option. It should be like the very last option.
I mean, I believe that's a thing too, but the judge isn't gonna boots on the ground and go knock on these parents' door, He's gonna send a social service worker. And that social service worker you know, is her job now. It's so compartmentalized, and everybody has their certain regiment, their certain job, and everybody is just doing their job rather than doing what's right. So that's all ultimately it comes down to, whether it's a judge or one of the guards, one of the kids. Like people just gotta wake up in the morning and say the right thing's more important than the wrong thing, no matter if it's harder.
Yeah. Do you think there should be like I know you were talking about the staff having like fight clubs with kids and stuff. That's crazy. You know, do you think like people that they hire for that position they should do like have requirements?
I was under the assumption they did. I was under the assumption, like, I understand to be a prison guard, you don't need much more than a license. But I was under the impression to work with kids, like there should be something, right? Like if we were to go be a janitor at a school, we got to go through background check. You know,
Yeah,
we have to somehow be. And a lot of these people weren't like at all. A lot of them were just big ass kids themselves. It, it was really something else to think about it too, because you realize like first you think this guy's job is to protect you, and then you realize it's not. Like he's gonna throw me in the mix worse than they fucking will, you know. And then you realize
yeah,
they're doing it to laugh at pain to kill their 8 hours.
yeah. I can
And
imagine, man. When you said about the Fight Club thing, imagine just like going in there and seeing the staff just tell them to fight each other. Like, what was going through your head when that was going on?
man, there was actually it would have been last year, maybe a little bit under a year. There was actually an article about this, a mainstream article. I got it through Drudge Report, which means it linked it to wherever it came from. But it was talking about these gladiator. They called it gladiator style fight clubs at Los Padrinos, and Gladiator gives it this. You know, everybody thinks crazy shit. You know, like kids got helmets on and fucking war hammers and shit. And nah, you're scrapping out. You're scrapping out. But you're forced to. Like you don't want to. There's no fucking prize for it. And yeah, I don't know. The only kids who want to do it are those savage ass kids that win every fight. You know.
Yeah. So now you've been through all that, and how your life is now. What do you What's in the future for you?
And then I'm raising my kids. You know, I got 4 kids, and you know, my boy, my oldest boy, he's just hitting that age now. You know, and he's hitting that high school age, and I'm so happy that he just he is that kid. He wants to stay inside. He wants to play his video games. He wants to. I mean, if he's watching this, I'm sorry to describe it that way, but he wants to be a nerd and hang out with his nerd friends, and I'm all
Hey,
for it,
there's nothing
man.
wrong with that.
Like,
There ain't nothing
yeah,
wrong with
man.
that.
How many Robux you need, man? Like, we're good.
Yeah. Yeah,
And you know,
I
that's
thought what were you saying?
like I grew up like getting my ass beat, and my oldest boy, he he's done his kung fu thing, he's done his jujitsu thing. You know, he knows how to take a gun and take a knife from people. Like he's trained, and it's just amazing to see him now growing into this young man. You know, and these situations, although he's prepared to handle them, they're so foreign to him. Like I don't think it's anything, hopefully, that he'll ever have to deal with, and that is a great feeling. Because there was nobody to keep me safe from that. My dad couldn't have kept me safe from any of this if he tried. And he's capable of keeping himself safe. And hopefully he'll never have to know that.
Yeah, that one. Usually we talk about prison stuff, but I thought this interview, um, it's nice to have a wide selection of different interviews for people going through different things. And I thought maybe a kid going through like what you went through with the juvenile, if they watch this, maybe they'll know that they're not alone. What kind of advice would you? I think you already said it, but what kind of advice would you tell a kid to survive going through all that? Just don't to stay away from gangs and just be yourself.
Stay away from gangs, be yourself, and really, like, keep your head up, man. They can't last forever. They cannot keep you here forever. So as long as you make sure they can't send you anywhere worse as an adult, you're gonna you're gonna get out of this. You might not know when, you might not know how, but you're gonna get to be yourself again.
Yeah, how's that work anyways? Is it like you're in there for a certain amount of time, or do you have to like
Oh, man, the way it worked for me was so fucking crazy. I get out of YA, go back to somewhere. I go to this camp. Chandler Youth Center, you know, a little boot camp thingy. And I'm in there and I get a court date. I actually get there on my 18th birthday. I tried to get a phone call. They wouldn't even give me one because my paperwork hadn't transferred and they didn't believe today was my birthday. So I'm in there and I settle in and I get a court date. And the judge basically tells me, I'm not letting you out of here. I'm like, I'm 18. Like, it's time to let me go. And nah, I'm not letting you out of here till you get your high school diploma. So I'm like, fuck. Okay. So he reschedules it, you know, puts it a few months out. I go back, I get my diploma. Not physically. I passed the courses I need to have this diploma. I have earned my diploma. I go back to court. I tell the judge, I got my diploma. And he's like, well, I don't see you holding one. And I'm like, you can look it up. Like I passed it. He's like, no, 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 no. I said, when you have a diploma, you came here, you don't have a diploma. So I begged him. I was like,
Dang.
let me come back in 1 month. 1 month. So he gave me a court date a month away. I go back. I take a GED test. I pass the GED test. Come back a month later here, and I go home that day.
Yeah, I thought once you were like over 18, I thought you couldn't, be there.
That's what I thought too, and it was not. I mean, once I had seen YA, I knew like these motherfuckers are like 24, 25 years old. I don't know how they're keeping them, but they're fucking keeping them.
Yeah, and that leaves room for, for that's this is a reason why they don't have like younger people in prison, because the older folks will,
Yeah,
they can pick on them, abuse them, or whatever, and you don't want that. But it seems like they don't care in the juvenile service. I don't know the way you
it's really
explained it just now. That's crazy.
every kid was either crying to go home, trying to get high on whatever they could, or actively preparing to be the worst gangster they could be to go to YA. And then the moment they get to YA, you are actively preparing to go to prison. You're going to Chino, you're going to San Quentin, wherever the fuck they send you after that. But
Yeah,
there's not a end to that tunnel.
yeah, I couldn't imagine because I know when I was in prison, it's always the young people you got to watch out for. Those are the people trying to prove themselves to, the OGs and everything. They're out there doing the most. So
Mm.
you in juvenile, you're just around a whole bunch of young people, just trying to outdo one another. It must
Yeah,
been crazy, And it, being in that
they
kind of
will.
environment, I don't think that would, I don't think that would help anybody. I think that's just throwing kids, to the side because you don't want to deal with them, and they're going to actually get worse.
It's like either the kids they're gonna become prey, or it's that like that 1 hour where the difference between a dog and a wolf, that 1 hour where the dog flips that switch and changes. And when you see little kids do it, that's a switch they can't necessarily ever turn off. You know, like now it gets ingrained in them, and this is who you are now. And now you're supposed to go back and see everybody else and deal with the stupid shit people say in the street, at a liquor store, at a school, and not take it there. It's an unreasonable expectation.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're in there and the language everybody knows is violence. I mean, you said so yourself. Everybody was fighting. There's a lot of disrespect going around, and coming on the outside, you bring some of that violence, and then you just you end up in prison because that's all you know. That's the first thing you
Right.
you resort to. So I would say, if you're out there and you're a parent and let that be our last resort. Fight for your child, especially they go to court, man. Don't let them go to juvenile services because that might be, the worst thing
As
that
a
could
parent,
happen to
don't let
them.
yeah, and don't be that parent that threatens them with it. Because then, if they hear, oh, you keep doing this, you're gonna wind up there, you're gonna wind up there. They're gonna eventually get curious about where there is, and then the moment they start even asking somebody who's been there or something like that, it makes it something feasible to them. Let it be that worst end of the world place that they dream up in their own mind, rather than threatening them with something that they're later going to go figure out for themselves. And yeah,
Yeah. Well, I think we about covered everything. I thank you for coming on and sharing your story with all of us. Um,
thank you, sir.
yeah, man, it's been an honor hearing your story, and yeah, because I haven't had anybody come on and talk about the juvenile services. So you went in depth with it. So I appreciate it. And hopefully, a
Thank
kid that's going through it right now, he might be in there right now. He might be, he might get on YouTube and see this while he's sitting in there, and being like, taking some of your the things you say, it might help him. So I thank you for that.
Hope so, man. Thank you. Love your channel. And yeah, I wanted to drop like, hey, that's a natural fact at some point in here to shout out Big Miz, but I didn't find the moment.
That's an extra fact. Yeah. Yeah, but thank you for coming on, and thank everybody for tuning in. I'm gonna edit this video, and I'm trying to put all my interviews on my main page. So every day I'm putting like an older interview on my page. So if you watch all my interviews live, don't be surprised if you get some of them get on there. But yeah, thank you for coming on.
Hey, thank you, sir. I'm gonna go cook some dinner. Have a good night.
You too.